All right. Good Monday morning, you guys. Oh my goodness. It's Monday again. And Valerie girl, I have to warn you, rain is coming. Okay.
I know. I was like, this is so rude. Why do we need more rain here? We are
I
just getting
know.
better.
I know. It's fixing to hit, girl. I'm just letting you know it's fixing to hit me and I'm waiting for it. But you guys, before we dive in anymore, you're listening to Author Talk with me, Aimee, Russell, Valerie, and our lovely author guest today is Don Sawyer. So, you guys, let's dive into weekend, shall we? Okay. So, as you guys know, my new community has a neighborhood pool. And so I was trying to take some of the like later afternoons off to take my kids to the pool because
The newcomers.
well, that's just their thing. The pool just opened, that's their thing. Okay. So people there think, I'm a talkative person and I'm just there to make sure my kids don't drown. Okay. So it was a fun time. Fun time. Josh actually went, which is amazing because he doesn't like to get darker than he is. So Don, my husband, is a first generation Indian. His family is from South India, from Tamil Nadu, and so he doesn't want to get.
You said it correctly. That's very impressive.
I've been with him for 11 years. Okay. I should be getting some kind of credit up in here. So, anyways, he doesn't want to get any darker. So, the fact that he went was, just fabulous. So, he took the girls and did that. And then we had just like a movie night. And it's kind of cool now because we're in a 2-story house. My kids can have a movie night upstairs in the game room. So, I inflated the air mattress for them and they got all their blankets and pillows, and we put a movie on for them up there, and then I could actually watch an adult movie and not have to watch Disney. Though I will say I am a fan of Disney animation movies. I will watch them when I need something happy. Yeah.
I mean, does your husband have connections with the Tamil people in Sri Lanka?
He has family and relatives in Sri Lanka.
Yeah. I mean, that's been such a difficult, tragic situation there. I just wondered how it affected him.
Yeah, so I don't know all the details, so I just hang out and wait for people to tell me stuff. So it's one of those things for sure. But I actually got to watch an adult movie, you guys. So I got to watch Luther, the Fallen Son on Netflix, which is my first adult movie since John Wick 4 came out, and I scheduled a meeting with my husband to go see that movie. Okay, so I'm living the dream. The fact I got to watch this movie. So that was my weekend in a nutshell, which was great. Coming off the birthday and the moving, I finally had just a calm weekend. But what did everybody else do this weekend?
Well, we live in the in the Niagara portion of southern Ontario, and we're blessed with a lovely climate here. We have about 125 wineries within the immediate area, so we had a chance to explore a couple of those. And we also took a walk along Lake Ontario shore and got almost carried away by mosquitoes. But that's, that kind of goes with the territory.
And now, Don, if you would have smoked a cigar while you were
I was thinking about that, Ross.
It would have not bothered you.
Well, I do smoke a pipe, but it's not quite as portable. Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. And so, and then we're probably the last people in the world to watch the last episodes of Ted Lasso, which we did this weekend.
Is that a good show? I hear really good things about it. I've never watched it.
It's worth the trouble.
Okay. I'm down for that. You had me at that.
It's such a nice counterpoint to sort of the mood of the world, I mean, the guy's irrepressibly optimistic and kind. And I mean, sometimes to the point of, but still, I think I found it really entertaining. Yeah, it was a very contemporary and I thought very thoughtful show.
I'll have to watch it. See, because now I can have adult showtime. Okay, yes. I can just send my kids upstairs. So I'm moving up in this world. Is what I've said. So Don, my kids are 5 and 4. Well, my youngest will be 4 in August, and so we just moved into our current new space. So that's why I'm excited about all these new adventures. I don't like the stairs. The laundry to do the stairs is awful. But I can send my kids upstairs, and that's out of sight, out of mind. All their toys stay upstairs.
Shut the door and lock it.
Yes,
we have grandkids that are 5 and 8. So, and one of the things I've been doing is reading to my one grandson from The Black Cauldron, which is a book I read fantasy book that I read my kids years ago, and I'm reading it on FaceTime too. So that's really fun.
Oh, nice. I love the invention of face.
I'm going to steal that idea. That's a great idea. I'm going to steal it.
It's fabulous. The whole thing of, having video and being able to call people and stuff is wonderful. Russell, what did you do?
Out of Philadelphia, so we don't get to see him as much as we'd like. So this is a really good way to connect.
It is. I have so much that I want to talk about.
Okay.
The Hong Kong interview that we talked about last Monday, when Ann was on the show, has been posted as of today. It was Don, have you done an interview with Rand Efficy in Hong Kong yet?
No, I haven't.
You want to do that. He is a spectacular guy. He's brilliant. He knows how to bring out who you really are, if that's what you want to do. And I'm hoping that Aimee even gets him on our show because he's just spectacular. And it was posted today. I'm very excited about it. So that was the one thing. I leave Thursday for Houston to babysit my 2 genetically identical twin granddaughters that are 3 years old for 4 days this weekend. I'm very frightened. Frightened because they're like little Tasmanian devils that go together. They have their own twin language and they conspire and destroy. And
their greatness is what you're saying.
Yes,
they are awesome.
Just take a lot of tranquilizers.
Well, we do have war plans. About every morning, I'm going to go get them kolaches. Do you know what a kolache is, Don?
I'm afraid not.
I knew that because I'm in Georgia now, and no one in Georgia knows what a kolache is. It's a Czech Texan dish, breakfast sandwich. And so every morning I'm going to go get these twins kolaches, and then we're going to take them to the swimming pool until they can't move. And then we'll take them home, feed them dinner, and put them to bed.
Sounds like a plan. I just have to say that I have twin nephews who live in Houston. And so it's just one of those serendipitous things. I'm not looking for any, extraterrestrial connections, but still, it is kind of interesting. My brother lives in right on Galveston Bay, and they got slammed by this last hurricane. He didn't have power for 5 days.
Well, that's usual for Houston.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
And then when we get back from Houston, we leave 2 days later to cruise the Greek islands. And then we're going to do Italy. And so I will be gone next Monday morning. I won't be on the show. And then I am going to try, but I don't know how dependable it's going to be. We were able to do it when we were in the Caribbean, but I'm going to try to be on the show while I'm in Greece and Italy. I'm going to try. So I'm very excited. The weekends, as far as I'm concerned, the holiday has started because the twins are the first part.
The first hurdle.
And you know what?
I'm excited for you.
You know, one heavyweight once said, every plan works until you get hit in the mouth. So that's our battle plan until the twins hit us in the mouth.
I'm excited. Do you have a whole strategy on how you're going to do this?
Yeah, I think he's going to need it, though. He's going to need it.
What seems to revolve around breakfast. I'm a little concerned about that. But anyway.
I like it.
They have a wide, unlike their big sister, they have a wide variety of food that they'll eat. They like spice. These two twins were made to live in Houston with all the great Asian food. They'll eat anything. One night I planned on taking them to dinner at the best Korean restaurant in Houston, which is better than anything I've found anywhere in the United States. And only these 2 3-year-olds could handle the spice of a Korean.
I will pray for you on taking 2 3-year-olds to dinner in public.
Yes.
I will pray for you.
Russell will not be eating. He will not be eating, but they might be eating.
You just shouldn't order any food, okay?
Yeah, just get your order to go.
Yeah.
I'm frightened.
I'm excited for
so.
you. I'm thoroughly excited for you. I cannot wait to hear the stories that come from that. That's going to be amazing.
It's going to be good. It's going to be good.
And Greece and Italy doesn't sound bad either.
Yeah, it's rocks.
Yeah, that's going to be amazing.
That's going to be cool. Pictures are going to be fabulous.
Oh, beautiful.
I'm excited about it. Yeah. Valerie, what about you? What did you do this weekend? You've had some chaoticness going on.
Just a little bit of chaoticness. We were just settling down after, getting our power back after 7 days. And then my son, we got his car back after being carjacked, and just all kind of things you don't want to deal with, but they are. And then I jumped right into summer camp, teaching summer camp to 2nd and 3rd graders, which was, oh my goodness. I was like, I need a vacation, Russell. I'm coming with you. I'm jumping on the ship. But this weekend, so the last day of the camp was Friday, and it was a full day camp for the whole week. And so me and my partner were like, oh my God, we're just ready to get out of here, because it was good. But those kids produced so much great writing. They just really, really just took off, like they're saying, rock star writing, just all the great stories, just imagination all over the place. But that is the most rewarding part about teaching a summer camp for writers, is that seeing what they're capable of, even as young as they are, just creating revisions and final drafts and all these different things about just things that are important to them, things where their imagination went. So it was good. It's always great to teach summer camp because they go so fast, and then we cram in so many ideas and so many projects. But anyway, on the weekend, we went to San Antonio to go move my daughter to another house way on the other side of town. And they picked it because it was closer to her work. But it's in an older neighborhood, and it's so cute. The house was like made in the 1950s. And do you know, Russell, you're probably going, she was like looking at the ceiling too. She was like, what is that? And it's the circle air vents, where it has like the little, she was like, I was like, that's a normal thing. Don't touch it. Leave it alone.
That was air conditioning in a long time ago.
Yes. And then just the little things they had, like it even has an old school garage where you twist the handle to lock it.
Wow, that is old school.
Yeah, but it's cute. It's a really.
Is it in like the Alamo Heights area?
No, what is that place called? I don't even know. It was on. It was so funny. All the streets in her neighborhood were named after beach things like Moana, Bikini, Waikiki, and I was like, this is so not what you envision when you're big yards with all kinds of stuff. But it's cool. There's a big central market down the road. All this kind of cool stuff. But that, and then so we were just so tired after moving. We went to this little place called the Treehouse, where it's a little bar, just a tiny bar, and where people do karaoke. And of course, my family, they love karaoke, and we were just sitting back enjoying the cheap drinks and relaxing, and that was good. It was good. It was so good to get away and just do something not related to this here in Houston. Just and spend some time. Yeah.
So I need to thank our listeners. Most of the people don't listen to us during the week, or they don't listen to us on our live show on Monday mornings. They listen to us during our podcast all week while they're driving or they're working out. That's why our shows last about 45 minutes. It's the average time of a workout, Don. And so we appreciate so much. We're top 10 independent book podcast in America, and we very much appreciate all the people that listen to us during the week. In the old time, before Aimee got carried away, it was hard to find us. I never could find us on the podcast channels. Then she did something magically, and even I can find us now. Aimee, where can people find us on the podcast?
Russell, one of these days I'm going to ask you where you can find us on these podcast channels. No, my go-to, I know that there's more, but my go-to is Amazon, Spotify, Good Pods, Apple, and Google Play. You can go and you can find us. My daughter just came in. Is where you can find us. And actually, ironically enough, Russell, Facebook was telling me then versus now for Author Talk and how we started and where we are today. So if you have been with us in these past almost 9 years, January will be 9 years. You know that we started off with purple and white, and now we are crimson, red, and gold because I am selfish and those are my favorite colors. And Dina Ray did our rebranding, and now Russell can find us. Everyone else can find us, and it's been a fun, chaotic, adventurous almost 9 years. There's been a lot that's happened in the writing community. And on my segment coming up, I will have two. One of them does involve the writing community for the Pissed Off Aimee segment. One does involve that. And
that's a segment of our show now, Don, is when she screams and yells about something that's pissed her off.
Russell really liked it when I would go on tangents. And so that's kind of how it is. So, but before we get into that, Valerie, let's get Don talking about his book.
Wait, I think Russell had something he wanted to talk about real quick.
Sorry.
Alert first. And because there are so many writers' conferences being advertised now. I mean, I get 5 or 6 or 7 a day notices all over the nation, even in Paris. And I've been posting some of them from all over the nation on AuthorTalk Facebook channel because people listen to us from all over. And I thought, well, they may, if they're on our Facebook channel and they're in Oregon or they're in Michigan, maybe there'll be one close to them. And then I thought, I was putting one on the Facebook channel, and I thought, I wonder if this is legitimate. My question is, how are all writers' conferences legitimate, and how do you tell the difference? Don, you said you had an opinion on that.
Well, I just actually, the ones I usually go to are affiliated with the Writers Union of Canada. And those are always legitimate because that's our national authors organization. And so I think maybe more to the point for me is, are they worth a while? But, you know, and I've met a lot of good people there, but I've kind of stopped going lately. For that reason. I mean, who is going and why and what is being presented there. I can remember, though, a discussion about, this is kind of interesting, social media some years ago at a Writers Union conference. And a publisher was saying, you know, we have no idea how to use social media to sell books. And she talked about one of the authors that she had, and her book had just been picked up by some, it wasn't Oprah, but it was someone on that scale, you know, like 1 million followers. And so this person was going to endorse the book on her whatever it would have been in those days, podcast. And so, you know, ramp up because sales are going to jump. Sure enough, the woman endorsed it on her. So we could not detect a single book sold as a result of that interview. So I always found that interesting, that, you know, what those discussions can be really helpful at those conferences as people share their experiences and, well, how do you do it then? And how do you do it effectively? But too often I find I can remember one time I was at a conference and someone said, how many people here, it was like 200 people, it was a writers union, make their living off writing fiction? And about 5 hands went up. I mean, so it's you know, who is going to not that I would hold my hand up, mind you, but still, who's there? I do wonder about that.
And I do too. And I wonder, are they, because in the writers community, it's just like every other community. I speak as an attorney now. There's always sharks. There's always sharks in every community. They're trying to make a buck, and they're trying to make a buck off naive people or people that they can trick. And so that's also something that exists in the writers community, and it's pretty heavy in the writers community. And so I always wonder, is this a shark? Is this someone trying to prey on people, or is this legitimate? And some of them, like one that has really been promoting to me, is the San Diego Writers Conference. Well, that sounds pretty legitimate, and it's connected to a local writer community. Some of the others, especially some of the online ones, I don't know if they look that legitimate. And I'm frankly not that interested in online writers conferences, because all the 90% of the benefit I've always received from a writers conference was between the sessions, the face-to-face, the meetings. That's how this podcast exists, is because of meeting Sandy Lawrence and going down the road with her and Aimee. And so I just have questions about it. And I think everyone that's listening, if you're thinking about a writers conference, you need to think about that.
Well, okay, wait a minute, okay, and then we'll dive into your book, John. I am a part of an online writing conference, and they're doing their first in-person one, and it is incredible, the writing conference. It's like 3 or 4 days, but there are breakout networking sessions, there's coffee chats to go, and you meet people all over the world. And on top of that, you can get into different writing groups with other writers in similar genres that are all over the world and tap into their connections and stuff as they can do for you, right? And if you think about it, you don't have to fly, because if you're looking at a writers conference, let's say in San Diego, and you live here in Texas, right? You have to pay for your flight there and back. You have to book your hotel, pay for your ticket, and then whatever extras that you want to do. That can rack up and be thousands of dollars, right? But if you do it online, you can stay at home, and yeah, maybe you pay $600 for an online conference. You get all the recordings, you get the behind the scenes VIP access, you get all of those things. And you can do it at home, and you can continuously go back and rewatch them in case you forget. Because I know if any of you guys are like me, we're not writing stuff down and we forget stuff. I'm good to know my name by the end of the day, right? So the benefit for online ones, and from my generation, I guess, in my standpoint, is much more valuable than in person. Yes, you have networking in person. You can talk to people, slap people if you want to. And online, you can't do that. But you can have access to those things for an entire year. So there's pros and cons to both of those things, I would say. And I've been
Thank you, Aimee. Thank you.
I've been at both of them. So that's just, my little tidbit and my opinion on that. But Russell, don't take away from my pissed off Aimee segment, because I will agree with Attorney Russell up in here, and we'll talk about that later this.
Well, I feel like each experience offers their own benefits for whoever want to do. And maybe if it happens to be in your town or not far away, you could be in person. But I think that's a valid question, Russell. Is, are they legitimate into the fact that are they going to be beneficial for you in their offerings, like even the online one or the in-person one? What are you going to gain from that? And is it worth your time and your money? Just in general, people need to know, like, is it even like worth the effort to go? Like, what are you going to gain? So I always look at reviews of stuff, or I'll go search all kind of stuff before I even dive into things. So maybe that's something writers need to do.
Yeah. And then the big media opportunities, Don, like how you were saying, this big person endorsed their book. They couldn't track a single sale from it. You will have people in media, Mickey will tell you this as well as I will tell you, that want Good Morning America and all of these bigger exposure shows, which, you will be charged, let's just say $15,000 to be on there. And maybe you'll sell $20. That is not enough to make up the investment in which you spent. Okay. Because you're not a celebrity, you're not well known. People aren't necessarily tuning in just for you. Right? Smaller opportunities, you never know who's watching, but doing more of them have more length of life for your book, because you have all this credibility, and then you will start gaining attention. But everything when it comes to a book is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time.
Absolutely.
You can't, it's not an instant thing. I wish it was, and I could just grant everybody instant success, but it definitely is not that.
I think those are all good points. And I've had, I've been with many publishers, and my most successful book one of my most successful books was a very small publisher. It's kind of like small publishers versus large publishers. I mean, I was just talking to somebody who was out with, one of the big five. I think he sold a couple of thousand books. I mean, it's not like just because you're affiliated with a large publisher, you're going to sell a gazillion books. And just like you're not going to go on. Yeah, I was really surprised. I was looking at, the big review, review publication. That's all they do. I just can't think right now. It costs $450 just to get your book looked at. Kirkus. It's like, whoa. So who has access to that, and wait a minute, what's that about? So anyway, I think these are interesting discussions. I'd like to.
Oh yeah. Well, the funny thing about Kirkus, right, is everyone in the industry knows it's a paid review. It doesn't mean that it's going to be a good review, but I've never seen a bad review come from Kirkus. Your bigger ones are going to be like Publishers Weekly, Literary Journal, or Titan. The bigger ones like that, where you can submit for free. If they're interested, they'll read your book. If not, then you can pay, but it's not a guarantee it's going to be a good review, right? Those are going to hold more weight to the media and people in the writing and publishing community, more so than a Kirkus one, because you're generally just paying for that review. Other editorial ones, you can't necessarily tell if you paid for them or not, so they hold a lot more weight.
Well, I got to say, obviously, I'm older than any of you, I'm including you, Russell. And so this is a whole this is a whole brave new world of publishing for me, really. The last book I published was 10 years before this, and so I'm like walking into this like a babe in the woods and trying to figure out how to market your book. And even I have a publisher that I like very much, small publisher, but they're working very hard. But you suddenly realize there's just this swamp of how do you get your book recognized, and of course in my day Amazon was there, but now they're selling over 50% of the books in the country. I mean, it's a whole different world, and for someone like me trying to get accustomed to it, and that's why I appreciate something like this, Aimee and Russell, having an opportunity to talk, and it's fun in itself, but also you are getting some exposure. Otherwise, who knows? I mean, who knows you? They don't.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Yeah. Well, let's get to know you, Don. Valerie, help us get to know Don and his book and his writing.
Oh, yeah. What I'm most impressed is you have 12 books.
Well, yeah. I mean, it depends really how you count a book. I've done all kinds of stuff. I've got children's books. I've got young adult books. I have a series of books that I did for adult readers. I worked in adult education, and these were adults who, were coming back to school. They had limited reading skills. But they had incredibly rich experiences, like adults do, but there's very little literature for that group. I mean, either it's written down, dumbed down, or it's children's stuff. So I did a series of books, two of them based on students' lives, that were like novellas. But I was so gratified to see how they were embraced by adult students right across the country. So that's and I did a nonfiction. I've done, like I say, 2 YA books. So it's been a real wide range, But obviously, I'm not dependent on my writing for my income, So I've been an educator all my life. And the other thing is that I've written literally thousands of pages of curriculum. I think sometimes we forget that writing can take lots of different forms, And sure. So, I mean, Jesus, it's just how you count them, I guess. But yeah, yes. I mean, and the ones, I've had 2 Canadian bestsellers, which I'm very proud of.
Which ones are those?
And Where the Rivers Meet, which is the YA novel set in an Aboriginal community. And the other is Tomorrow is School, and I'm Sick to the Heart Thinking About It, which I think is a great title. Which was about our first teaching experiences in rural Newfoundland, my wife and I. And that did very well. And one of the neat things about that is that it was used in teacher training programs right across the country. And so, I mean, it's like, wow, I never thought about that, and not only was it neat to see people valuing your story as a young educator, sort of making his way, and thank God for the students helping you out and supporting you, because otherwise you'd be lost. But also that it sort of guaranteed sales, So I was a bit spoiled because Where the Rivers Meet was a young adult novel, as I say, with a First Nations Aboriginal, as Amerindian. These terms are becoming increasingly difficult to nail down. But Amerindian, you know what I mean, right? Indians. Yeah. Okay. So it was a community in the Fraser Canyon, and it dealt. And I must say, I was really gratified some years later to have it called a classic, because it did deal with the issues of I worked in this community, so I knew the realities. And so, yeah, there's some tough parts in that book. And obviously I wanted to get it right. So I worked with an elder, Shishwetnik elder, who gave me, can you believe this, 4 hours of interviews she gave me. And I transcribed those interviews, and use some. And one of the things I was looking for was to get the cadence right. I'm not very good at dialects, but I'm pretty good at, if I can represent the actual timbre, the cadence, so using her words, I think, gave it a real sense of authenticity. But anyway, that book was used widely in native classrooms right across the country. So again, I had a kind of built-in markets. I think I got kind of spoiled, and then because now it's like, whoa, I got this really great book. I just hope somebody reads it, which we could talk about if you like, about the Burning Gym.
Yes. Yeah, we can lead into that for sure. I guess what I love that, and I was even sharing this with my students last week, is like, as a writer, you're not confined in a box.
Absolutely.
And the kids were just like, okay. And I was like, no, just because you write this doesn't mean you can't write that, and you can't create, and you can't create this. And so just use, go far and wide, do your writing, and it sounds, Don, like you've been able to do that. And I'm so excited about that. When did you first start your journey as a writer?
Well, the first book I wrote was Tomorrow's School. And we had taught that I hate to say this, it was 72 that we taught that.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm.
And this was in a very remote little outport community. They'd only had roads for 9 years. And so it was an extraordinary community sort of in transition from tradition to modernity. And and here we were, these outsiders that just kind of barged in. I had a little 2-cycle Saab. I'm sure nobody remembers what that looks like, but it was an unusual car then. And now, but I mean, you go wing ding 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 into this town where they've been fishermen for 200 years. And the interesting thing about this community is that really school was irrelevant traditionally, because the skills that you needed to learn to survive, you learned from your family. You went out with your father fishing when you were 12, 13. The girls were with their mothers learning how to preserve food. The men would go away 2 and 3 months in the winter sealing up on the Labrador coast. And so the women basically ran the community. So only one person every 4 or 5 years would actually graduate from high school. But now everything has changed, right? I mean, now the fisheries were dying. The sealing industry was dead. Modernity was crashing in on the community. Kids were going outside to work in Toronto and that sort of thing. And so suddenly schooling, basic literacy skills, critical thinking skills, awareness of the world around them became much more important. And so to sort of find yourself in this setting, it was intimidating and yet at the same time really exciting, because the kids just absorbed everything. And I just, like I said, even the stuff that failed, the kids were so patient with you. Like I went up to British Columbia to do my PhD in modern Chinese history, which I promptly flunked out of because the Chinese language has got absolutely, confounded me. I think everybody decided I would be better off in the rice paddies behind a water buffalo. Anyway, so I had this grand idea that I was going to introduce this group of grade 8 or 9 kids to Chinese philosophy in rural Newfoundland. Well, you can just imagine how that went over. I still wonder, what were you thinking? But I
actually think that was a really great idea.
Well, thank you, Russell.
So I actually think that there was brilliance in what you were thinking.
Well, and I did too at the time. I mean, the thing was like, okay, so I learned from that. So what did we do? Well, then we were going to study the world. So, okay, that's like world geography. Well, I said, well, wait a minute, we got nothing here. There's nothing in this library. So we wrote embassies all across Canada, and actually wrote everybody. So everybody had a country. And suddenly that was exciting. Now they got stuff back talking about the Congo, Brazzaville, and that brought that sort of thing alive. And then as I kind of refined my thinking, I realized, oh, wait a minute, what about where we are? And so like with an English class, we went to the local cemetery and looked at what was on the gravestones. And man, died, by drowning. And so you look up, well, what happened? 4 or 5 of them in the same one. Well, the ship went down, in 1873 and took these, so it was just fascinating. And then issues started to come up like, oh, okay, like, what do we want to know? What do we want to know? And so kids wanted to know things about, among other things, well, what are the attitudes toward birth control in the community. This was predominantly a Salvation Army. It was a Salvation Army school. And so I said, wow, well, they want to do a questionnaire. They want to go around to home and get people to respond to a questionnaire and compile it and then distribute it to the community, because they
and now that evolved into a story, which is incredible. It was incredible
learning. So they had to come up with the questions. You know, they had to go and talk to people face to face. They had to record them, and they had to combine them into a report, because they wanted sex education, right? But before they did it, they wanted to see what support there was in the community. But I had a visit from the Salvation Army captain and his wife. I don't know if it's captain or what, but because their daughter had one of the young women who spearheaded this, and they wanted to know why I had assigned them this. And I said, honest to God, I did not assign them. This is something that came from them. This is what this is. So
what a journey you've had. What a journey. I'm so excited that it's all of these experiences have led to what you have now coming out. Please tell us about your new book too.
Well, this is completely a departure. Like when I was teaching in the Native community, I had a young adult novel out of that, as I mentioned. And then this is an urban fantasy. And of course, I've been intrigued by fantasy since I was a child, because I lived in this sort of desert suburb of Detroit, right? Where, you know, and the only thing that saved me from a soul crushing adolescence was, you know, Tolkien, and that, you know, who got me out of there and showed me, you know, what creativity and imagination could really look like. Anyway, so I've always been interested in it, but I was living in Alabama, actually, in Fairhope, Alabama at the time. And there were a group of writers there that I joined in a writers group. And so, you know, I was thinking, okay, what am I going to write? I've always been fascinated with that phenomenon of, you know, when Curtis and others were taking photographs at the end of the 19th century of Indian tribes throughout, particularly the Southwest, but also the Northwest. And some of you probably heard this story. Some of the Native people balked at having their pictures taken because they thought it was capturing a bit of their soul. So that always fascinated me. Also true in Africa too, by the way, where I also worked for 10 years. So anyway, I thought, well, what if there was a machine that really did take a bit of their soul? What if it looked like an old box camera, but instead of producing a picture, it produced a gem, and that particular gem actually had embedded in it a portion of the person's soul, and that this you know would obviously be incredibly powerful and embody who they were, and so that was where it started. So actually, the series is called the Soul Catcher series. And I've got the first and second one. The second one's coming out next May. But in this one, we're introduced to the two main characters, who one is a woman who's married to this idiot lawyer who's a philanderer. And she's kind of caught kind of in this suburban wasteland. And she's desperate to get out, but she's stuck, right? And then this guy comes knocking on the door. It looks kind of like a Fuller Brush. Nobody knows who a Fuller Brush man is anymore. But anyway, comes knocking on his door and offers her to sell to make her a gem for $50,000. Anyway, make a long story.
So it's like a trap. It's a trap, and they're being bamboozled, kind of.
Her husband said, "Oh, this is a scam. You're." But it turns out it isn't. And so he comes because she could feel it. There's something there, and she feels his sincerity. So he makes this gem. Well, the gem it so empowers her that she just knows she's got to get the hell out of there. But she doesn't know how to find this guy. She sees that somehow her exit plan is based on this guy, because he's like, he's as she said, you know, like what was it? He's a magic man. What was that? Was that Fleetwood Mac?
Where did your inspiration for this story come from? Because it's so just, you know, pulling from like you said, maybe Tolkien, just a little fantasy, and then bringing the soul aspect into it. Are we gonna be like just like scared to go and try to do anything, or how's this gonna evolve here?
The gem, she has to walk through the subways of New York to find this place. It turns out that there was and this is actually true, that in 1873 there was a huge there was a subway attempted in New York, which everybody's forgotten, and there was an enormous terminal there. That's been transformed by people of shapeshifters, different people, special skills, people with magical powers, and it's been transformed into this kind of utopian community. And so she ends up stumbling on this where the gym maker is, but as things unfold, it turns out he's 110 years old, and that he is a part of this group of gym makers who are being run by the Mester, this horrid Mester who lives in London. So it turns out he's part of this cabal, and that these gyms are not benign. They're being used in this particular case, to move people toward the most base instincts, like the hatred of other, the racism, acceptance of the idea that some people are entitled to power and other people should just shut up, and so as they begin to unravel this thing, they end up going to Budapest, Hungary, where they begin to see just what. And I don't know if you've ever been to Budapest, but it's a city that just, to me, is just reeks mystery. And so they're trying to track this guy down before he kills them. And there's finally a confrontation, which I won't, in London. So I think it's an exciting book. Yes. But it also shows insight, I hope, into characters and what their motivations are. There's redemption. So yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. And then the second book is that they find out that this Ubermensch, because I use a bit of, I make some references to Nietzsche and Nietzsche's worst of his ideas. And so there's this even more, and then there's this whole center of evil where this is only one part of this whole plot. So in that one, they spend their time under the tunnels of Buddha, and so it's like I say, it's got a bit of metaphor to it, but I also hope it's a well-paced, exciting book as well, adventure.
Sounds like it, yes. And where can we find your books, sir?
Well, the usual suspects, and my publisher is, as I say, Castle Bridge Media, and I've really enjoyed working with them. Of course, on Amazon, it could be ordered through local bookstores. My website, if I could just throw that out, is donsawyer.org, and you can order the book through me. So yeah, it's a fun thing to write, and I'm looking forward to having the second book out, because that kind of completes the story cycle.
I love how the story is all weaved, and then you created another universe, and almost like another universe, and the evil and the way the extension of the ideas impact the characters. It sounds fascinating.
Well, thank you. I think too, it's like both characters are kind of lost, in their own way. But when Barbara crashes in, I mean, this guy's been frozen. He's 110, right? And he doesn't age. But he lost his love. So he's frozen almost in time, and she crashes in on this, and suddenly everything changes, and he finds his ability to act, to be an actor, to be an agent, and so they combine together in this unlikely duo, and there's some suggestion of romance, but it's not even.
It has everything. It sounds like it has everything. Everything. What do you think, Russell?
Everything, absolutely.
I think that Don tells his story very well. I think that was a great job, Don. Thank you very much. I do have a question for Aimee, though.
Anything, Russell.
Aimee, what are you pissed off about this?
Why do you sound so upset? Oh my goodness. Okay, listen. Don, I have two things, and one thing is speaking to Attorney Russell over here. There are so many piranhas, is what I'm going to call them, and predators in the writing community that will take advantage of first-time authors and older authors, right?
No.
And they will, I know, terrible. They will take advantage of you, and they will bleed you dry of so much money. I have witnessed this. I am in the process of fixing this for a lot of authors. And, authors it's a very passionate thing for me. I get that from Sandy, Russell, that. And indie and small press authors is my happy spot, my go-to. It's who I work with. I feel like there's a lot of amazing stories and talent there. Some that are better than traditionally published books, in my opinion. So I hang out in that arena, but taking advantage of those people when they're literally putting their blood, sweat, and tears and their heart out on the pages, and they're marketing their book, and you take advantage of it, and they're out a ton of money. Like, I hear these stories all the time. And I heard one recently about creating a fake KDP account, saying that they got all these big reviews, taking thousands of dollars from this person. And now you make them leery of people like me, who's actually generally trying to help them, right? And then you have to overcome all these hurdles and stuff. But it's just sad to do that, because to write a book, Don, as you know, and Valerie and Russell, as you guys know, it takes a lot of courage to put that baby out there and have people read it and accept their feedback, good or bad, accept their feedback, right? And pray that people like the story that you've created, right? That takes a lot of just power and courage to do that. So to have someone do that and take their money and kind of ruins the experience for them and ruins them wanting to continue writing. So that thoroughly pisses me off. And also being disrespectful in a house to the house owner that's not your house just really irks my gears, okay? Really thoroughly irks my gears. Don't do that. Why can't we all just be nice to each other, not con people out of money, okay? Just kumbaya, rub your ears and just say kumbaya, and we're woo-sawing it out of here, okay? That's what I'm upset about.
It seems appropriate that we've had the previous conversation today. Then it seemed to all correspond.
That's what I was thinking. I appreciate your concern for older writer. Really, that gets me right here. But I mean, fortunately, I have had some experience. I'm not a total newbie. The other thing is that I picked up pretty fast. When you were talking, Russell, about conferences, I was thinking about all of these awards. Everybody's award winning, and you suddenly realize they're all award winning. You know, there's about 1,000 of them, and for $100, they'll be happy to give you an award. I mean, this is all new to me too, because I never saw that. I mean, like when I won awards, they were legitimate, you know, and they were like, you know, really. And so this is, but I do think, and I'm going to say this, that Aimee, you got my name through a publicist, right?
I did, yeah.
Okay. Now this guy, I know from friends who recommended him. And he's not bleeding me dry, but he is helping me figure out this new publishing swamp in a way that I don't think I could have on my own.
No, he's amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I can see how you could get into this, you know, and get into real trouble. But and my publisher has been very helpful too. In fact, the publishers and I and the publicists got together. How are we going to promote this book? You know, but as you know, smaller independent presses don't have a lot of money to promote books, and maybe haven't developed the kind of contacts that would put them in touch with you. So I think that's a really, really good point, and I can see how people would just get hammered if they sort of went in, and that's too bad, because you're right. Writing should be something, it's a sharing of stories, which is about as primal as you can get. But it turns out to be as commodified so much, you know?
Yeah, it's really sad you have some hybrid presses that aren't functioning as hybrid presses, and they're just taking thousands of dollars. And then you have others that are offering services and aren't providing those services, right? And it becomes oversaturated, where it's harder to find the people that are actually out there like me, like your publicist, just to help authors. We're not here to bankrupt you. We just want to help you get more exposure that we have resources to, right? So those are just the things. I mean, that's just a continuous pissed off segment right there. Like, I could talk on hours about these things and about my kids being in the background, because like, why not? Why have a closed office when your kids just come in? There's no point. I give up. I just give up. But Don, this has been fabulous talking with you, getting to know just how your books evolve and how they come about, and getting to talk to you as an author. So I will jump to Russell and Valerie for last minute comments, questions, statements while I mute myself.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Really, it's been, I can't believe the time's up. I feel like
the time flew. Yeah. It was so great to meet you, Don. And I know this book is going to just take off like wildfire, because it just sounds fascinating.
Well, Valley, I certainly hope you're right. But even if it isn't, things like this have really made it worthwhile. Honestly, you know, this is fun too for me. And I really appreciate your interest and support. It's great.
Thank you, Don. Thank you for being on our show.
Oh, my pleasure.
Great job.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, Don, you are welcome back anytime to talk about your writing ventures and all of your books and what's, new and coming for you. But until then, everybody, we hope that you have a fantastic Monday. Stay dry out there here in Texas, because for whatever reason, we've decided to have more rain all week. Stay safe, dry. Hope everybody has power. A great rest of your week. And until next Monday, everybody, bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you.